In this tutorial, I'll show you how to develop the rig of a stickman that I made in a previous tutorial so that it can be used to make things like this simple walk cycle animation. Open the model made in the previous tutorial. You can make the model yourself or download it from my website. In the View menu, change the view to the front view. In the Pose menu, clear Transform All. Click the Armature button, turn X-ray on and change display style to octahedral. I don't want 3 bones in the head, so I'm going to go into edit mode, select the top bone, hold down shift, select the second bone and delete them. The tail of the 3rd bone is selected, press G to grab, Z for the Z direction and stretch that up. Go into pose mode. Select the bone, press G to grab and make sure the head follows the bone. Control and Z. I'm going to give the bones meaningful names. Click the bone button and name the bone the head bone. I'm going to pan down, hold down shift and mouse wheel. Drag with the middle mouse button to rotate the view. Now when the Skin Modifier generated the armature, it made this root bone, which I'll call root. It's useful as a control bone, but generally we don't want control bones to deform the mesh, so untick deform. Change the view to the front view. Press A on the keyboard twice to select all bones. In the pose menu, auto name left right. Now if I select an arm bone, .L has been added to the name, and if I select the opposite bone, .R has been added. If I select the lower leg, .L has been correctly added, but for some reason the upper leg, the suffix is wrong. There is a menu option to flip the name. I need to select the other upper leg, pose, flip name. I'm going to call this bone upper leg. I would call this bone lower arm, but I'm going to jump ahead to where I've named all the bones. To modify the armature, go into edit mode, scroll down and tick X mirror. Now I'm not going to have a collarbone, I'm going to offset the arm, select the arm bone, hold down Alt and press P and disconnect bone. Do the same on the other side, select Alt and P, disconnect. Select the backbone and press H on the keyboard to hide it. Select the neck, press H. Select the tail of the arm bone and press G to grab followed by X for the X direction and move it, and I'm going to enter a value of -0.4, enter. I'm going to apply inverse kinematics to the arms, go into pose mode, select the lower arm, click the bone constraints button, add constraint inverse kinematics. Because there's 2 bones in the arm, set the chain length to 2 and repeat for the other side. Add the constraint inverse kinematics, chain length 2. Press G to grab. The way inverse kinematics works is that you place the bone at the end of the chain and the computer works back up the chain placing the other bones. The problem we have at the moment is that the elbow bends both ways. A real elbow won't do that. Control Z to undo the pose. Change the view to the top view. Click the bone button. Scroll down and open up the inverse kinematics panel. Scroll down, lock X, lock Y, limit Z, change -180 to 0 and G to grab, and now the elbow will only bend one way. Control Z. Repeat for the other side, lock X, lock Y, limit Z, this time it's the +180 we set to 0. Go into edit mode, select the elbow joint, hold down shift, select the other elbow joint, press G to grab, Y for the Y direction, 0.1 and enter, and that puts a slight bend in the elbows. Next the legs, change the view to the front view. Pan, shift and mouse wheel. Select a leg, hold down Alt and press P, disconnect bone. Select the other leg, hold down Alt, P, disconnect. Zoom in with the mouse wheel, select the root bone, press H to hide it, select the head of the leg bone, press G to grab and move that to the top of the leg. I'm going to round these values. I'm going to round the X value to 0.34 and I'm going to round the Z value to minus 0.54. Select the whole of the bone and scroll up. I'm going to square up the bone by altering the roll. I'm going to enter a value of 56. Zoom back with the mouse wheel, select the lower leg bone and enter 56 again. By inverse kinematics, go into pose mode, select the right leg, click the constraints button, add constraint inverse kinematics, set the chain length to 2. Click the bone button, scroll down, lock X, lock Y and limit Z, change the view to the right view and it's the plus 180 is set to 0. Select the left leg, click the constraints button, add the constraint inverse kinematics, chain length 2, click the bone button, lock X, lock Y, limit Z and it's the minus 180 we set to 0. Change the view to the front view, go into edit mode, select a knee, hold down shift, select the other knee, go into the right view, press G to grab, Y for the Y direction, minus 0.1 and enter, and that puts a slight bend in the knees. Change the view to the front view, hold down Alt and press H on the keyboard to unhide hidden bones, go into pose mode. We pose the arms by placing the lower arm bone, select it, press G to grab and move the arm so it crosses the grid where the grid lines cross. Select the other arm bone, press G to grab and move that so the arm crosses the grid where the grid lines cross. Hold down shift and mouse wheel to pan up. Select the lower leg, press G to grab and make the leg vertical. Select the other lower leg, press G to grab and move that so that the leg is vertical. Hold down shift and pan down using the mouse wheel. Zoom back using the mouse wheel. Now I want to save the pose, so I'm going to press A twice to select all bones. Click the Armature button, scroll down and open up the pose library panel. Click the new button for a new pose library. Click the plus to add the current pose to the pose library. And I'm going to name the pose standing. Now if I go to the pose menu, clear transform all, I can click this button to go back to the standing pose. I'm going to end the tutorial there. There are many refinements and additions I could make, but I'm going to save those for future tutorials. I'll put the start file and the end file at my website www.freemovies.co.uk at the Blender channel there. Thanks for watching and goodbye.